It's been a turbulent year in politics, and one man who hasn't been immune to the rollercoaster ride is Jeremy Corbyn. In September, he was re-elected as the Labour Party leader, even managing to increase his majority in the process. But he's still seen by some as a divisive figure within the party. Earlier, Baroness May Blood told the Talkback programme he was helping to destroy the Labour Party.
Have you met Jeremy Corbyn?
Once.
Just once. What do you make of him?
Not much.
Really?
No.
What, a cold fish?
I met him and he gave me the impression that... did you ever meet anybody you thought had just been primed to do something? Well, he just gave me that impression. He gave me the impression he wasn't with the issues at all. Now, he may be a good, decent man. I don't know him well enough to say that. But I mean, personally, I believe he's helping to destroy the Labour Party. And if Theresa May was to call a snap election, which is very possible next year, Labour Party would really have a lot of work to do.
Let's talk about that with Phil Kelly from the Northern Ireland branch of the Labour Party and former Labour spin doctor Lance Price. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Phil, I'll begin with you first. Do you accept any of what Baroness May Blood had to say?
Look, I don't. Let me start by saying that Baroness May Blood she's an inspiring figure, and she reminds me her life story mirrors that of my parents. They grew up in East Belfast, and life experience turned them into socialists. But her comments are actually quite... damaging actually to the Labour members who've joined because of Jeremy Corbyn, because it's not just about Corbyn. If Corbyn is destroying the Labour Party, then so too are the hundreds of thousands of people that have joined the Labour Party inspired by his message, and so too are the many people that have joined the Northern Ireland Labour Party, which surged from a party of around 300 people to over 3,000, one of the largest political parties now in the North, and that's because of that message. So I really think that May Blood's comments are fairly shallow, and they do not reflect the wider membership of the party here, or actually the membership of the party as a whole.
But I think the way that she spoke about Jeremy Corbyn, she doesn't just blame Jeremy Corbyn. The way she talks about it is that it's the whole process and the division within the Labour Party that she seems concerned with. She talked about there being the Blairites, the Brownites. She says it's the divisive nature of the Labour Party that has to be addressed. And she suggests that Jeremy Corbyn maybe isn't the man for the job because the party is just too divided under his leadership.
Well, the reality of that, the divide is actually a small group of the Parliamentary Labour MPs who reflect an ever-diminishing political influence within the wider Labour Party. It's not Jeremy Corbyn that instigated the coup that led to the leadership election that we've had this year, which was a pointless leadership election and a complete diversion from fighting the Tories in a post-Brexit political landscape. So really the blame, I would say, lies with people like Ian McNicol, Tom Watson, who really need to look at their conduct.
Do you think they're ruining the party?
Well, I think they need to examine their conduct, and I think that members should examine their conduct and say, where does blame lie? Because, you know, we've now one of the largest parties in Europe. We should be turning our fire on the Conservative government, which people are crying out for an alternative to, rather than this incessant, unending coup against one man.
OK, I'll bring in Lance Price on that. Lance, are you concerned for the future of the Labour Party? And you heard May Blood's comments there. Do you believe that Jeremy Corbyn is to blame for the division within the Labour Party? And do you think that he is the issue and not, as Phil has suggested, some of the other members of the party?
Well, I don't think blame is a particularly helpful way of looking at it. I think that the Labour Party is in a pretty dire condition at the moment, notwithstanding the growth of the membership. But Jeremy Corbyn is an absolutely honourable man, and all the hundreds of thousands of people who've joined the Labour Party since his election are themselves honourable men and women, but they believe, many of them, he certainly does, and many of the new members believe, that the Labour Party should be a radical socialist party led by somebody who holds radical socialist beliefs. And there's nothing wrong with that, other than there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that the British people as a whole are willing to elect a party like that to govern the country. And therefore, although it may be a strong principled position to take, it leaves us with the prospect of the Tories being in power for a very, very long time, and potentially the Labour Party doing so badly at the next election, whether it's a snap election, as Baroness May Blood was talking about, next year, or a general election as planned in 2020. In either case, under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, the Labour Party is likely to do so badly that it may never recover. All
right, well, let me bring Phil back in on that point. Under Jeremy Corbyn, Labour may never recover. What do you make of that?
It's interesting that Lance seems to have advanced knowledge and, you know, is clearly reading different tea leaves. This kind of reduction of politics to, he described Jeremy Corbyn and his supporters as radical left wing. It's not. The fact is, Lance, that the political supposed centre has moved so far to the right that there needs to be a rebalance. The kind of economic policies espoused by the Labour Party towards the end of the New Labour project were entirely free market, pro-market, capitalist, neoliberal junk, which led to 2008 and the kind of devastation that we've seen globally with the collapse of the financial markets. Corbyn offers an alternative to that. If this is a proper democracy, then there should be an alternative to the dominant narrative at the minute, which is austerity, which we're now staring in the face of a lost decade under the Conservatives.
OK. Lance, just last point to you. Phil says Corbyn offers an alternative to what is currently being offered. What do you think Jeremy Corbyn has to say to persuade the naysayers and his critics in order to continue as Labour leader?
I'm all in favour of a radical alternative to what the Conservatives propose, and I completely agree that politics has moved on from the years with the Brownites and the Blairites and all of that stuff, and that we need a new kind of politics to take us forward. The trouble is that with a first-past-the-post system, two big parties have to coalesce around a leader who is seen as a potential Prime Minister, and that is not what we have in Jeremy Corbyn, with the best will in the world.
Okay.
I don't think he believes that he's that kind of leader, and I certainly don't, and I can't see how the British people are ever going to be persuaded of that. Well, so if he wants to give it a shot, he's going to give it a shot because he's got the leadership.
All right, well, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, for now. Lance and Phil, I don't think you're going to come to an agreement anytime soon, but thank you for joining us on Evening Extra to talk about Jeremy Corbyn.